I used to believe that I had built the perfect life. A beautiful wife, two amazing kids, and a home filled with laughter. My name is Daniel Carter, and for over 10 years, I poured everything into my family. I worked hard to provide a stable life, sacrificing sleep, time, and even my personal dreams to ensure my wife, Rachel, and our two children, Ethan, 8, and Sophie, 6, never lacked anything. Rachel and I had met in college. She was charming, intelligent, and had a smile that could light up any room. We married young, and for the first few years, I thought we were genuinely happy. But looking back now, I realize I was blind to the small cracks forming in our relationship. I ignored the way she became distant over the years, how she spent more time on her phone, how her affection towards me slowly faded into mere obligation. At first, I thought it was just the stress of raising kids, but something inside me always nagged at me, an unshakable feeling that I was losing her. Our kids were my world. Every morning, I made their breakfast before heading to work, and every night, I tucked them into bed, reading their favorite stories. But Rachel? She had grown detached. I often came home to find her out with friends or locked in the bedroom, giggling over text messages. When I questioned her, she brushed it off with a dismissive laugh. "You're paranoid, Dan. I need a social life too, you know," she'd say. I wanted to believe her. One evening, after a long day at work, I walked into the house to find the kids watching cartoons alone. "Where's Mom?" I asked. She said she was going to the store, but that was a long time ago, Ethan answered without looking up from the screen. I checked my phone. No messages, no calls. I sighed, pushing away the growing unease in my chest. Then, the late nights started happening more frequently. She would come home smelling like expensive cologne that wasn't mine. Her explanations became weaker, excuses filled with half-hearted apologies. "I was just out with Melissa," she claimed, referring to her best friend. But Melissa was married with a newborn. Something wasn't adding up. Then, one night, everything changed. It was nearly midnight when I heard Rachel sneak into the house. I pretended to be asleep as she crawled into bed, but my heart pounded. When I heard her phone vibrate, I waited until I was sure she was asleep before slipping it from her nightstand. A single message was glowing on the screen. "Tonight was amazing. I can't wait to see you again. Love you. Red heart." My body froze. My worst fears had been confirmed. The message was from Nathan, one of my closest friends. A wave of nausea hit me like a punch to the gut. My hands trembled as I scrolled through their messages. Hundreds of texts, pictures, and declarations of love. Plans to run away together. Jokes about me. How clueless I was. How pathetic I seemed for trusting her. I couldn't breathe. Rachel stirred beside me, and I quickly placed her phone back before rolling over, staring at the ceiling. My mind raced. How long had this been going on? Did my kids know? Were they already being conditioned to accept another man in their lives? I couldn't let this continue. I needed a plan. But first, I needed proof. For the next week, I played along. I pretended nothing had changed. But every night, I collected evidence, screenshots, call logs, and even a GPS tracker on her car. Then, things got worse. One afternoon, I overheard Rachel talking on the phone, her voice hushed but urgent. "He's not going to make this easy, Nathan. If I want full custody, I need a reason. I need to make him look unfit." My heart nearly stopped. She wasn't just cheating. She was planning to take my kids away. My hands clenched into fists as rage boiled inside me. I had given her everything, and now she was trying to rip my children from my life? No. If she wanted a war, I'd give her one. I sat in my car for nearly an hour after hearing Rachel's phone call. My hands were shaking, my mind clouded with rage and disbelief. How could she do this? Not just the affair, but the sheer cruelty of trying to take my kids away. It wasn't just about losing my family anymore. It was about survival. I knew I had to act fast. Divorce was inevitable, but I needed to ensure she didn't manipulate the courts into giving her full custody. I needed an airtight case against her. That night, I started my research. I spoke with a lawyer, Mark Reynolds, a well-respected family attorney, who gave me a grim warning. "Family courts are unpredictable, Daniel. Even if she's cheating, that won't necessarily affect custody. If she can paint you as unstable, violent, or neglectful, The judge could rule in her favor. The words made my stomach churn. She's already planning to frame me, I said. I overheard her. Mark nodded. Then you need to be 10 steps ahead. Document everything. Keep your cool. One mistake, one outburst, one slip up, and she'll use it against you. I left his office with a game plan. Over the next week, I became meticulous. I gathered every piece of evidence, screenshots of her text with Nathan, the GPS logs showing she was at his place overnight, bank statements proving she had spent our money on hotel rooms and expensive gifts. I even installed a voice recorder in the living room, capturing every time she spoke about taking the kids away. The hardest part was pretending I didn't know. I continued playing the role of the oblivious husband, but inside, I was seething. Every time I saw Rachel smile at me, every time she hugged our kids, I had to resist the urge to explode. Then came the night she made her first move. I was in the kitchen making dinner when she walked in, her expression cold and calculated. "We need to talk," she said, arms crossed. I turned off the stove and faced her. "All right." She took a deep breath, as if preparing for a performance. "I think we should separate. Things haven't been working for a while, and I don't want to live in a loveless marriage." I clenched my jaw. "You mean you don't want to live with me because you're sleeping with Nathan?" Her eyes widened for a fraction of a second before she recovered. "That's not what this is about." "Right," I said dryly. "So what is it about?" She exhaled, playing the victim. "I just don't feel happy anymore, Daniel. And I think the kids would be better off with me." There it was. "You think I'm going to let you take them?" I asked, voice steady. She frowned. "I'm their mother, Dan. You work long hours. I'm the one who takes care of them most of the time. It makes sense for them to stay with me full-time." I let out a bitter laugh. "So you can introduce them to Nathan? So he can play daddy while you erase me from their lives?" Her lips curled into a sneer. "You're being dramatic. I just want what's best for them." "No, Rachel," I said, stepping closer. "You want what's best for you. You don't give a damn about what's best for the kids." She scoffed, but I saw something flicker in her eyes, doubt. She wasn't expecting me to push back so strongly. She composed herself. "Look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. I'd rather we keep things civil. But if you fight me on this, I'll have no choice but to bring up your temper issues." I froze. "My temper issues?" I repeated slowly. Rachel shrugged. "You do have a history of getting angry, Dan. I mean, you yell sometimes." That could be concerning. The realization hit me like a brick wall. She was setting me up, trying to paint me as an unstable father, just like Mark had warned. I forced myself to stay calm. "You're really willing to lie to take them from me?" She tilted her head. "It's not a lie if it's how I feel." I took a deep breath, suppressing the urge to scream. "I see," I said finally. "Well, I guess we'll see what the courts think." Her smirk faltered. "You're not going to make this easy, are you?" she asked. "Not when my kids are involved," I said. "No." The legal battle began. Rachel wasted no time filing for divorce. She demanded full custody, citing my unstable behavior and emotional distance as reasons I was an unfit father. But she had underestimated me. My lawyer filed a response, countering her claims with cold, hard evidence. I presented the messages, the GPS logs, the bank statements, all proving her affair. Then, we provided audio recordings of her discussing her plan to frame me. It was devastating for her case. During our first court hearing, her lawyer tried to paint me as aggressive and volatile. But when we played the recordings, Rachel's face went pale. The judge was not impressed. "Mrs. Carter," he said sternly, "it seems you have been less than truthful about your intentions in this case. Attempting to manipulate custody proceedings in this manner is deeply concerning." Rachel's lawyer tried to recover, but the damage was done. I watched as the realization sank into her eyes. She was losing, and I wasn't done yet. Rachel's downfall. A few weeks later, the court ordered a custody evaluation. A social worker was assigned to observe both of our parenting abilities. Rachel tried to act like the perfect mother, but the cracks in her facade were showing. She was constantly distracted by her phone, texting Nathan. Meanwhile, I focused entirely on our kids, ensuring they felt safe and loved. Then came the final blow. During a follow-up hearing, A witness stepped forward, Melissa, Rachel's best friend. She had heard everything. Under oath, Melissa testified that Rachel had openly discussed using the kids to hurt me, even joking about how she could push me over the edge to make me look unstable. Rachel's lawyer dropped her case immediately. She had no leg to stand on. The judge ruled in my favor. I was awarded primary custody. Rachel was given limited visitation rights. And the best part? Nathan dumped her. He wasn't willing to take on the responsibility of being a full-time father to 2 kids. Once he saw she had nothing to offer him, no home, no stability, he left her in the dust. Rachel lost everything. And I walked out of that courtroom with my head held high, holding my children's hands. I had one. The day the final custody ruling was delivered, I sat in the courtroom, my hands gripping the arms of my chair. My heart pounded as the judge shuffled his papers. I had done everything right. I had gathered the evidence, stayed composed, and exposed Rachel's lies. But still, the fear lingered. What if, despite everything, the system failed me? Rachel sat across from me, her expression unreadable. She had dressed carefully, wearing a soft pastel dress and minimal makeup, playing the part of the devoted mother. But I had seen the panic in her eyes before we entered the courtroom. She knew what was coming. The judge cleared his throat. After reviewing the presented evidence, including documented attempts to manipulate custody proceedings, the court finds that awarding primary custody to the father, Daniel Carter, is in the best interest of the children. A rush of relief surged through me, but I forced myself to remain still. Rachel, however, wasn't so composed. Her mouth fell open, her face paling. "What?" she blurted out. The judge barely glanced at her. "Mrs. Carter, the court takes parental alienation very seriously. You actively attempted to deceive these proceedings and manipulate the outcome. As such, your visitation rights will be supervised until further review." Rachel shot up from her seat. "You can't do this. I'm their mother. I should be the one raising them, not him." Her lawyer tried to calm her, but she wasn't listening. She turned to me, her eyes blazing with fury. "You did this. You turned them against me." I met her gaze, my expression steady. "No, Rachel, you did this to yourself." Her hands clenched into fists at her sides. For the first time, I saw the full weight of her loss settle in. She had spent months planning to take my children from me, believing she held all the power. And now, she had lost everything. The judge gave her a firm look. "I advise you to compose yourself, Mrs. Carter. This court's decision is final." Rachel let out a strangled sound, but she knew it was over. After the ruling, Rachel disappeared for a few days. She refused to answer my calls, even when I tried to coordinate her first supervised visitation. I wasn't surprised. She was furious, humiliated, and desperate, but I wasn't prepared for what she did next. Late one night, I was awakened by the sound of knocking at my door. Not frantic, but persistent. I checked the time, 11:42 p.m. My stomach tightened as I walked to the door, glancing at the security camera feed on my phone. Rachel. She stood there, arms wrapped around herself, swaying slightly. I debated ignoring her, but something felt off. When I opened the door, I immediately smelled alcohol. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her hair unkempt. "Can we talk?" she slurred. I hesitated. "Rachel, it's late. Please," she cut in, voice trembling. I just need to talk to you." I stepped outside, keeping the door partially closed behind me. "What do you want?" She let out a humorless laugh. "What do I want? I want my life back, Daniel. I want my kids back. I want Nathan back. I want everything you took from me." I exhaled sharply. "I didn't take anything from you. You destroyed it all on your own." Her expression crumpled. "I didn't think it would turn out like this," she whispered. "I thought I had it all figured out." She swayed again, and for a brief second, I saw something I hadn't expected: regret. Not just regret that she lost, but regret for what she had done. "I messed up," she admitted. "I thought Nathan would be there for me, that we'd start a new life together. But she let out a bitter laugh. He told me I was too much baggage. Left me as soon as the case was over." I wasn't surprised, but I stayed silent. Rachel's shoulders shook. I lost everything. My family, my future, my kids. Her eyes locked onto mine. You hate me, don't you? I let out a slow breath. I don't have the energy to hate you, Rachel. My focus is on the kids. That's it. Tears welled in her eyes. Do they even ask about me? I hesitated. They do. But they're confused. They don't understand why you did what you did. She wiped her face. I wish I could undo it. All of it. For the first time in a long time, I believed her. But it was too late. I have to protect them, I said simply. And that means keeping you at a distance. She nodded, defeated. I guess I deserve that. After a long silence, she whispered, Can I see them? Not tonight, I said firmly. Not like this. She didn't argue. Instead, she turned and walked away, disappearing into the night. The final blow. A week later, Rachel's decline became public knowledge. Her employer found out about the custody case and the evidence presented in court. A scandal erupted when it was revealed that she had embezzled company funds to help finance her affair. Fancy dinners, weekend getaways, even gifts for Nathan. She was fired immediately. With no income and mounting legal fees, she struggled to afford rent. Soon, she was evicted. The last I heard, she was living out of her car, bouncing between friends' houses. Nathan had moved on, dating someone new, someone younger, someone with no baggage. Rachel had well and truly lost everything. And me? I was finally free. Free from the lies, the manipulation, the fear of losing my children. As I tucked my kids into bed one night, my daughter looked up at me. Daddy, she whispered. Yeah, sweetheart, are we gonna be okay now? I smiled, pressing a kiss to her forehead. Yeah, I murmured. We're gonna be just fine. The fallout from Rachel's actions didn't stop with her losing custody or her job. Word spread quickly through our town about the affair, the custody battle, and her attempted manipulation of the courts. Her former friends, women she had once confided in, parents from the kids' school, began to distance themselves. The whispers followed her wherever she went. At first, she tried to fight back. She posted on social media, painting herself as the victim of a vindictive ex-husband. The legal system is so unfair to mothers. All I ever wanted was to protect my children, but my lying, manipulative ex turned everyone against me. And for what? To punish me? To control me? But people weren't buying it. The evidence from court had already circulated. Screenshots of messages between her and Nathan, emails where she had tried to frame me, even the proof of her financial deception. It was all out there. The comments under her posts were brutal. Protect your children? You mean take them away from their father out of spite? Didn't you cheat on your husband and try to frame him in court? Yeah, you really seem like the victim here. This is what happens when you destroy your own life and blame everyone else. Her account was eventually deleted, but the damage had already been done. Rachel's visitations begin, under supervision. 2 weeks after the ruling, Rachel had her first supervised visit with the kids. I had explained everything to them as carefully as I could. Your mom made some bad choices, but she still loves you. The judge said she can see you, but only with someone watching to make sure everything is okay. My son, Ethan, was hesitant. Do we have to see her? I didn't force them. You can if you want, but it's your choice. They agreed to go, but there was a nervous energy in the air as we arrived at the visitation center. Rachel was already there, waiting in one of the small rooms. She looked terrible. Her once perfectly styled hair was limp, her face tired and hollow. She had always taken pride in her appearance, but now, she looked like a shadow of the woman she used to be. When the kids walked in, she brightened. Ethan, Lily. They hesitated before hugging her. The warmth wasn't the same as before. There was a distance now, a wariness in their eyes. She tried to act like everything was normal, asking about school, their favorite shows, their friends. But something had shifted. She wasn't their safe place anymore. Halfway through the visit, Lily spoke up. Why did you lie about Daddy? Rachel froze. Tears welled in her eyes. I made mistakes, sweetheart. I thought I was doing what was best. Ethan wasn't having it. No, you just wanted to win. Rachel flinched. The rest of the visit was quiet. She tried to hug them before they left, but they didn't hold on as tightly as they once did. I could see it in her eyes as we walked out. She knew she had lost them. Nathan's new life, without her. One afternoon, I ran into Nathan at a grocery store. I had no interest in speaking to him, but he spotted me near the checkout. Damn. I didn't respond. He exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. Look, man, I know there's no making this right, but you're right, I cut in. There isn't. He nodded, looking uncomfortable. Rachel reached out to me last week. She wanted to talk, said she needed help. I said nothing. I told her no, he continued. Told her I wasn't interested in getting dragged back into her mess. I raised an eyebrow. So, after everything, she still thought you'd be there for her? He let out a humorless laugh. Guess so, but I'm not an idiot. I moved on. I stared at him for a moment before saying, You moved on? That's rich, considering you helped destroy a family. His expression darkened. Look, I didn't come over here to start something. Then don't, I said simply. I grabbed my groceries and left without another word. The kids began to heal. Despite everything, I was determined to give my kids a normal, happy life. At first, things were difficult. They had moments where they missed Rachel, moments of anger, sadness, and confusion. Lily would ask, Do you think Mommy is sad? Ethan, more bitter, would mutter, She should be. I let them feel what they needed to feel, but I also made sure to reassure them. She loves you. She made bad choices, but that doesn't mean you have to carry that hurt forever. Slowly, they started smiling more. We spent more time outside, going on hikes, playing in the park, trying new activities together. I took up coaching Ethan's Little League team, something I never would have had time for before. Lily got into art, and I proudly hung up every single one of her drawings on the fridge. For the first time in a long time, our home felt light again. No tension, no lies, just peace. Rachel's final attempt to make amends. One evening, I received a message from an unknown number. Rachel, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to say this. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen, debating whether to respond. She continued. Rachel, I ruined everything. I destroyed our family. I hurt you and the kids. And now I have nothing left. I just wanted you to know that I regret it. I thought about it for a long time before replying. I hope you figure yourself out, Rachel. But the kids and I are moving on. She didn't respond. And that was the last time I ever heard from her. A new beginning. Months passed. Seasons changed. Life didn't just move on. It thrived. The wounds Rachel left behind weren't forgotten, but they healed. Ethan and Lily still had questions sometimes. There were still moments when they felt the absence of their mother, but the pain didn't define them anymore. One evening, as we sat at the dinner table, Ethan asked, Dad, do you think Mom will ever be normal again? I hesitated before answering. I think she has a lot to figure out, but that's not on us. Our job is to keep moving forward. Lily played with her food. Do you think she'll ever come back? I met her eyes. That's up to her. But no matter what, you two will always have me. And I'll always make sure you're safe. They smiled. We finished dinner, and later that night, as I tucked them into bed, Ethan whispered, I like it better this way. What do you mean? I asked. No more fighting. No more secrets. Just us. I kissed his forehead. Me too, buddy. Me too. Rachel hits rock bottom. I never reached out to Rachel again. From what I heard through mutual acquaintances, her life continued to spiral downward. She lost the apartment she had rented after the divorce, couldn't afford it anymore. She bounced between different jobs, unable to hold one down for long. With no friends left and no family willing to support her, she had nowhere to turn. At one point, she tried to take me back to court, claiming she deserved unsupervised visits. She didn't even make it past the first hearing. The judge shut it down immediately, citing her history of lies, manipulation, and emotional instability. The last I heard, she was living out of a cheap motel on the outskirts of town. The same woman who once tried to take everything from me now had nothing. Nathan's life after the affair. Nathan, too, wasn't doing much better. His wife divorced him after she found out about the affair. She took full custody of their two kids and moved away, cutting all ties. He was left alone, just like Rachel. Karma had done its work. They betrayed the people who loved them most, and in the end, they destroyed themselves. And me? I was free, finding love again. For a long time, I thought I'd never trust anyone again. Rachel's betrayal had cut deep, and I didn't know if I could open my heart to someone new. But life has a funny way of surprising you. It started small, a conversation at the kids' school with another parent, someone kind and understanding. Her name was Emily. She was a single mother with a daughter in Lily's class. At first, we just talked when we saw each other. Casual, friendly conversations. Then, one day, she asked if I wanted to grab coffee. I hesitated, but something inside me said, take the chance. So I did. And for the first time in years, I felt something I thought I had lost forever. Hope. A future without regret. One evening, as I stood outside watching the sunset, I thought about everything that had happened. The pain, the betrayal, the loss, but also the growth, the healing, the second chance at happiness. Rachel had tried to destroy me. She had tried to take my children, my reputation, and my peace. But in the end, she lost everything. And I rebuilt my life, stronger, happier, and full of love. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Lily ran up and hugged me from behind. Daddy? Yeah, sweetheart. I'm happy. I smiled, my heart full. Me too, Lily. Me too.